It's a great pleasure to speak with guitarist, songwriter, vocalist, producer Steve Lukather. And we're going to limit this to about 30 minutes, but you could do episode after episode about Steve Lukather's career.
Yeah.
I have several Steve Lukather stories. The first time I saw the
Yeah,
band,
boy, you and a million other people, man. You got to forgive me for my sordid past, man. I was crazy when I was young. I admitted my sins. What can I say?
well, I didn't get to see you when I first got into your band Toto, but when you toured in, I think, 1999, I got to see Toto in a small club in Philadelphia.
Well, I remember that. Yeah, man. I remember those days playing in the clubs, trying to get it together in the United States, man. It's been an Achilles heel for many years, and then last year when we jumped on the Journey tour doing the arenas, boy, that really changed everything in the United States for us. I mean, we were able to play in front of 500,000 people. The Journey guys are beautiful cats, dear friends, and Neil and
Right.
John in particular, but I love them all.
And the
But
Dog of Oz tour has been tremendously successful, but another Steve Lukather memory I have is, let's see, August 18th, 2008, where I got to see your solo band with Carlos de la Puerta,
oh
um,
wow, yeah, I remember
Eric
that.
Valentine, and Steve Weingart.
Yeah, that was like the last year of my insane years. So I apologize for my anything that would have been a little dodgy at that era, but that was the end of my drinking career about right there. So
But
yeah,
speak,
yeah, we had fun. I mean, it was some fun, fun gigs and stuff like that. Great band and lovely guys.
and
But
it was a
that's
great
funny.
tour celebrating great solo releases. So I
Thank
want
you.
to talk to you today a little bit about Bridges, which comes out, let's see, it is
June
June
15th.
16th. Yeah.
Okay, 16.
And of course, the single already, there is one single out already, which is I Found the Sun. No, I'm sorry, that's the wrong
Well, that
album.
was last album,
That
man.
was the last album, right? So you have one single out already when we're recording this. This album differs a little bit from your prior release in
Yeah.
that, first of all, Joseph Williams is the producer. How else would you say differs than your prior album?
Oh, it's a huge difference. The last album, I Found the
I Found
Sunny,
the Sun.
that was
Again.
for me. I did that record in 8 days, everything live, except for the vocals. I overdubbed the vocals that night. We did a song a day in 8 days. But during all the tracking, all the solos, all the jams, all the self-indulgent, let me show my chops or whatever it was. I did that for me to see if I could still do it and also have fun doing it and have a jam band record like they used to make in the late 60s, early 70s. So that one was for me. Okay, that album was done right before the lockdown.
Right.
So 2 years pass, and I go through some of the worst times in my entire life. The depression was deep, and it was really a tough time for me. I'll just leave that there. And I came out of that, and when I realized that Toto was going, we sat around our houses going, "Is this ever going to open up again? Is it ever?"
Right.
Is it? I mean, we didn't get like a farewell or a goodbye or I'm never gonna play live. I'm never gonna do a record again. I mean, we really thought it was the end of the world. And for the first few months, it was like, oh, isn't it great to be home? There's the dog, the kids, and everything's beautiful. Yeah. And then it got a little scary. And then it
Mhm.
got a little scarier more. And then people, and you live through it. I have kids, locked in the house, school, how that screwed up their lives and the socialization. I have an autistic son, my youngest son, who's 12. It was really hard for him
Mhm.
scholastically. There's pressure on every one of us on planet Earth. Okay, not just me. I'm just relating it to my story. So I went through that, and if things when I came out of the fog of that, and it was a fog, all right. Um, had the band getting ready to go back on the road again. I had 2 months of nothing to do, and I called up my record company mascot, Ed Van Zyl, the owner of the company, and I said, "Hey man, I want to do a record, do a song record this time. Let's do a
Mhm.
shameless '80s record. Nobody's doing that now. We used to do that, and I wanted to work with Dave and Joe." And I said, because I've been my friends since I'm 15 years old. I've known those guys since I was a teenager. We
Mhm.
came up and love each other. And so Joseph has a studio in his house. We showed up at Joe's house first day, just Joe and I. We wrote the last song of the whole album.
Mhm.
And wrote it and tracked it, overdubbed on it, had melodies, and then we wrote the lyrics the next day. That was the first song, and then we overdubbed drums and bass and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Next day, David came over, and then for the next 4 or 5 days, Dave, Joe, and I were writing song a day, and
Wow.
we weren't no demos. It just went right to the tape, and what you're hearing on the record was just from the original ideas of recording songs to when we added drums and bass and
Mhm.
vocals. You know what I mean? It was pretty. And then my son Trev brought in a track that was almost done, which he produced, which was Far From Over, the opening
Far from
track.
over, right.
And I'm so proud of him. He was such a great producer. He's 36-year-old man now. I mean, he does this professionally from his house. He's got a beautiful studio and everything. And so that was fun. So I just basically put my family and friends together to make a record. It wasn't like oh, don't tell anybody we're doing a Toto record because I don't want to. No, it's just this is what we sound like. I just made a record with my friends, you know.
Well, I mean, it's not a total record. Now,
No,
granted,
but
you are, and I told this to David Page when I talked to him last year, so forgive me for saying this again.
no, he plays one
You
of my best.
are the best Toto ballad singer ever in the
Yeah,
bands you've had. Not to
right,
mention a fantastic guitarist, but one thing that your solo albums have had from the beginning, from the beginning, Lukather to I Found a
uh,
Son Again, is great songcraft. And this album shows that. Now you were talking about you starting with Joseph on the last song, which is starting the album with the last song, which is I'll Never Know.
I'll never
Did,
know. Yeah.
did you have any lyrical ideas when you went into the studio with him?
No, no, we
How
had
did
nothing. Nothing. Show up and come on to my house at noon. Let's see what we come up with.
Mhm.
And we work for 3 or 4 hours a day. And then Joseph, who loves to tinker around when nobody's looking, would all of a sudden put all these amazing background parts on and all these other keyboards and atmospheric stuff and percussion stuff. Because he loves to do that. And he's such a great producer, especially vocally. He got this stuff out of me that, we worked hard on this stuff. And he
Mhm.
put it all together and it was double tracked. And we went back to the 80s production style of let's double vocals, let's do big harmonies, let's make a big production out of it. Shamelessly 80s and effects world. Just have fun with it. It's like, hey man, nobody else is doing it really. Why don't
Right.
we do it? You know what I mean? I purposely pulled back my playing in terms of being flashy or anything like that. I wanted to just there's so many great guitar players now. I was like, I'm an old guy trying to keep up with these young kids that are just ripping it up. It's scary.
Yeah, but
But
you have so
I
many
played
great statements. You have so many great guitar statements on every album.
well,
Um,
thanks. But I mean, what my point was that I was trying to do the less is more meaningful, and I purposely put a governor on my playing and just said, I start going for shit. And I got to do that last album. I said, let me try to be completely different. Just worry about tone, phrasing, and
right.
choice of notes.
Right, right. So talk to me a little bit about some of the other tracks. So you mentioned the track that Trev contributed to and co-produced, which
Yeah,
was
no, he produced it. There's no co-production. He did that. He bossed his old man around. It was great. Wow,
So
dude, look
Far
again,
From
man, you can do
Over.
better than that. But he's so excited about music. I mean, having that youthful energy. He's such a talented kid. He's not a kid anymore. He's a grown man, but he's just got a lot of energy and he's got chops and he's got ideas and he knows the studio. He's an engineer and a producer, and he's had success doing it.
Mhm.
So in production, I mean, it's hard to make a living in the music business, but he manages to do it.
And I know he has a single out now, but this song,
Killer. It's a killer. So it's called The Sound. Check it out, man.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
excellent.
he loves the big over the top production like his old man. It's a very anthem Coldplay with some more meat on it and his singing great. I'm so proud of him. I don't even know what to say, but check
Yeah,
it out.
it's very melodic. It's a wonderful song. Uh, and when I think of Trev and you co-writing, I think about the song "Tell Me What You Want From Me."
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that was
it,
when he was still a kid. You know,
really,
that was his riff, like the really cool guitar riff. That was his riff.
yeah, that's
You know,
amazing.
so I was going like, how did you do that? Because he plays funny. He does drop D tunings, but he doesn't sound like that. He plays weird voicings and weird fingerings, and I go, you know what? I'm going to tell you you're doing that wrong. I'm not going to tell you that because you're doing something different. You're getting something different out of it.
Absolutely.
I always told him to be a great rhythm player, great part player, be a great melodic player because there's a billion guys that play technically insane.
Hmm.
It's kind of like at the point now where I mean, it's the jaw dropping. It's impressive, but like how do you compete with that? I mean,
And not
and-
necessarily is, I mean, some of it's musical, but some of it really isn't.
well, I mean, I'll give you a great example of something I think was recently brilliant, which is the new Extreme record. Nuno Betancourt played a solo that not only knocked everybody's head off, but it's within the context of a great rock song with a great rock band. You know what I mean? And it sounds
Mhm.
great. And that's like everything that we grew up listening to. I mean, it's great to have ridiculously cool guitar solos, but where's the songs?
Right.
Gotta have songs. I mean, the kids' technique is fantastic. Now, take a month off from practicing and get into some songwriting and then incorporate it all together, and you really have something there. Now, that's
Yeah.
old guy talking, right?
Well, I mean, it shows in terms of your craftsmanship and how the albums are produced. The next song is "Not My Kind of People," which features again Joseph Williams, a co-write with you, bringing in David Page and also the incredible Stan Lynch, who is a amazing
Stan's the
lyricist.
word man. He's the word man. He's the one that comes up with these insane, biting lyrics that are humorous and dark and weird. But we've known each other for 40 some odd years. He knows me. We both had, a roller coaster ride in life. So some of our humor is very much the same. We get on, and he's one of my soul brothers. I love him to death. So we wrote the song, Dave, me, and Joe, and then we la the melody. This is the
Right.
no words. I said, Stan, give me some. And he called me. We talked about life, and he goes, okay, good, that's good. We laughed a lot, talked about old stories, and that inspired him to write this lyric. It's sort of like what's how we older guys look at life. You know what I mean? And people that have fucked us over.
Hmm. Hmm.
And everybody in show business has been fucked over. Sorry.
Yeah, and Chris Stan wrote, excuse me, for wrote on the Kingdom of Desire, and then he wrote on
He's
the
part of our team. I mean, Tambu was all to the stand.
Bamboo. Yes.
And he's always written with me on my solo records, and we've done a lot of stuff together through the years. He's one of my favorite human beings, as well as being an unbelievable lyricist that works really fast and does not bring any cliche stuff to the party. I just laugh. We get these lyrics. I go, "This is amazing." Then we maybe change a word or two, talk about it on the phone. I try singing it
Right.
and make it work. You know what I mean? And it was effortless.
Yeah, I
And that
talked
was
to
the whole record was effortless. I mean, that was what was fun. We did it in 3 weeks from the first note to the ready to be mixed. And then I sat on it for a year while we went on the road, and then we mixed it in December, and it's coming out next month.
okay, so my impression of your solo work is that it does come easy for you. Is that accurate, or is it depends on the album?
I mean, I don't go into it thinking this is going to be hard or easy. I just
Okay.
like, we come up with something. And with the people that I know and worked with, and like particularly Dave and Joe, like I said,
Mhm.
we've known each other our whole lives. There's a musical language that we understand that's kind of unspoken. Like if somebody starts out with a riff, we all of a sudden fall into, oh, I got a B section here. I go, well, here's a melody. And the next
Mhm.
thing you know, this collaborative thing happens very quickly. Within an hour or 2 hours, we got a track built up, and then we overdubbed the drums and bass on everything because it's the way in the configuration of how we were making the record and the time constraints and where we were doing it. Last album was all live, everybody did like this. This
Right.
time we pieced it together a little bit like that because it was just time and cost effective.
But I imagine with Shannon's in Shannon Forrest is
Yeah, he's
in
in Nashville.
Nashville. Right.
He's an incredible engineer and has an incredible studio. I just sent him the stuff. Said, all right, man, give me your best stuff. And he did. Simon, I hadn't worked with in a while. It was really fun to get back with him, but we drove up to his studio in Ojai and we're in a
Oh,
room.
okay.
Did it. So, and that was fun to fucking to get us all back together again. See, people think we don't like each other. So that's not true. He moved on to do his band the way he wants to do it. He's happy. He's thriving. We
Mhm.
had a ball. Everything's working out the way it works out. Everybody's happy as far as I know.
Yeah, 2 amazing drummers, 2 different styles, but 2 also very groove-focused drummers. And I talked to Shannon at the last time I saw, Toto, which was last time I saw that version of Toto, and I mentioned his production on Michael McDonald's album, which was stunning. Yeah.
That's the thing. He's working on projects for himself now. He produced more stuff for Michael, I think, and he's working on a project himself. And he was the number one guy in Nashville as a drummer, studio guy. I don't know how much he does right now, but he's got
Mhm.
a beautiful studio in his house. The drum sounds are insane, and he's a great engineer on top of it all. And I love the guy. Plays great. Gave me
Yeah.
everything I wanted times 10.
So for All Forever's Must End, you team up with one of my favorite lyricists. Um,
Randy Goodrum.
yep, Randy Goodrum.
Well, here's this thing. Randy and I
Yeah,
have this. We've always written ballads together.
right.
We've written a lot of songs. "I'll Be Over You" was a big hit, and we wrote that. That was one of the first things we ever wrote together. And then he worked on a lot of Toto records, a lot of Toto stuff that I wrote and sang. It mostly the piano songs I write.
Mhm,
Usually the ballads. I'm the guitar player that turns his amp up all the way, but I'm the guy that writes the pretty ballads too. And it was something we hadn't worked together in a long time. And I had this piece of music sitting around. I didn't know what to do with it.
mhm,
It was unfinished, but I had a pretty good chunk of it. Piano song. I'd sit there, I write these little songs. And I said, well, you know what? Let me finish this. And since the album's a shameless 80s, hello, how are you? Let's go all the way with it. Let's write a ballad that wouldn't be out of place on the seventh one or something like that. You know what I mean? And
right,
so we went for that. And I sent him the track again with my, lyrical or not lyrical, my melodic ideas, la 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 la, or da 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 da,
mhm,
nonsensical shit. And then he came back with this unbelievably soulful lyric, and like only he can write. I mean, he's a genius in terms of how to write a love song that isn't a cliche, lost love or whatever. I mean, who doesn't,
mhm.
one of those sad songs.
Yeah, he's amazing. His solo work is also pretty amazing. And
He's a
then the band
brilliant musician. He's deep, a jazz musician. I mean, he's schooled. He's every aspect of record production, from engineering to I mean, he's got it down.
yeah,
And
he really
he's a great
does.
guy, man. I love him to death.
Yeah, he did an album with Jay, Graydon,
Oh yeah, Jar.
Jar. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
it's
I've been
like
waiting for Jar 2 for a long time.
apparently they're working on it still.
Oh, wow. Well, it's great to hear. The next song is When I See You Again, which we talked about. The first single, Simon Phillips back on drums, David Paich on keyboards, and of course, a lot of Joseph Williams keyboards. And you co-wrote that with Stan Lynch as well. How did that come about?
Same thing, man. I mean, like I said, we come in with nothing, and we always come out with something. One of us is going to have an idea that's going to spark something.
Mhm,
Oh, or before I go to the studio, I start messing around in my office and come up with a riff or something. I said, that needs my work today. Or Paige would just come in and sit down with a Wurlitzer sound and just start playing this great keyboard thing. I said, "It's great. Okay, let's wait, put a little drum loop on so we could play to that." And then we'd start writing, and within a couple of hours, we'd put together a whole track. And then
right.
we farm out the lyrics and come back to that. And Joseph's produced the record because he's so brilliant at just the vocals, and he really got some amazing stuff out of me. And he likes to tinker around. He lives alone. He's got a studio in his house. I like to work and go home, see my kids and my dog, and live a normal life when I'm not on the road.
I mean, it just seems to me as
I know
if
it seems weird with the glasses. Sorry about this, but I got this eye tear duct bummer. I'm not trying to be
no,
Mr. Super Cool, but
no, that's cool. It seems to me it was a quick succession of albums from you, David, and Joseph, because you had I Found the Sun Again in 2001. Of course, you've been busy with Dogs of Oz tour, busy with Ringo Starr. You're
yeah.
about to go out again.
Well, let me cut you off at the pass because I know what you're going to ask me. You've caught on to something. If you look at when I Found the Sun and Joe's record came out, but Joe's record was brilliant, and we all worked on that, all of us, some way or another. Not on every song, but we were involved. Paige does an EP. We're all involved.
Yep.
We all play. And and then my new records come out. We're all on it. So, I mean, arguably, you could say any one of those four albums could, if we put it on one record, best take three songs off each guy's record, you could arguably say you might have a total thing
I
there.
was going to ask that.
But all right, well, I'm just explaining where we were coming from. I mean, that's just what happens. Okay, now ask me the question you want before I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, that's great. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
the
I
fact
talk
is
too much. I'm guilty. Talk too much.
you have been amazing. You've always been productive in your career,
Try.
but it seems as if you're much more productive in terms of recording and touring than you've ever been. I mean, just Product. Great album, great album, great album, great tour,
Oh,
great
well, thank
tour,
you,
great
man. I
tour.
appreciate all that. Thank you, man. Well, here's the thing, man. This pandemic thing, it's like, okay, I tried retirement. It sucked. It sucked. I don't want I'd rather be dead. That was bad. So, given the opportunity to start back up and get on the road and make new music and keep moving forward, working with Ringo, who I adore and love,
Right.
and yeah, there's a lot of work going on. And how old am I now? I'll be 66 in October. Damn, I can't even believe it myself. But there's a harsh reality to the expiration date.
Mm,
How long am I going to be able to do this? I mean, some of our brothers can't do it anymore medically or whatever, or they just hate it and they don't want to be on the road ever again, or just, you know, life and people change. Some people
yeah.
are pissed off at me that I'm trying to keep Toto together. You know what I mean? It's like just trying to keep the music alive and, you know, show some respect to it and get it out there. And I love doing it. Joseph and I love doing it. Dave's involved in business from day 50% of everything. We're doing it out of the love of it. I mean, it's not Toto 78, it's not Toto 2000, it's not Toto 80, 92. It's what it is now. It's
I mean, I
changed a lot of
can't com
times.
I can't complain about getting great new music.
Well, thanks. I
I
mean, you know,
can't complain
we
about
do
see
try. We do try.
but I can't complain about seeing a great band on stage year after year. I can't complain about seeing Ringo, who is what, he's 80 something, still out there. That is
It'll be
fantastic.
84, man. 84 in July.
I mean, that is amazing. I've seen the 3 different versions of the Ringo Star All Stars. This is but to have you in it and have you continue to do new music. Oh, well, enough of that. I want to
Well,
go to
no, man, it's a great honor for me. It's my 11th year as an all-star.
wow.
And you know, I think I've been there longer than anybody except for Greg Bissonette on
Yep.
drums. And he got me in the band,
Hmm.
you know. So and so I really that's not work to me. That's a, like vacation tour. Because all I have to do is be the guitar player and you know, I love all the other guys in the band. I love playing their music. I love being a support player. The hang is world class, and Ringo treats us like kings. Who wouldn't want to do this gig? Ringo and I have become really good friends over these years.
Hmm.
Such an inspiration and like a big brother to me, a great wise man who keeps my shit when I start going crazy. He's like, shut up. You know, it's like he's nicer than that, but you know, he busts my balls. I go, what are you thinking like that? What are you nuts? You know, and when you get advice from Ringo, I mean, it really holds a lot of water. You know,
He's
he's been
Ringo
a
Starr.
great friend to me. When I've gone through my darkest bits, when I messed up and you know whatever, you know, he was there for me and supported me and loved me in spite of myself, if you will.
Yeah, it's friendship.
And
We
yeah,
are over 30 minutes, so if you have a little more time, if not, I can let you go.
I owe you another 5 minutes, man. You were I was loving
Well, I want to talk every usually your solo albums you have 1 or 2 covers. This one you didn't have any classic covers. You did do a song which wasn't original, which was Take My Love.
Well, Steve Majora, who's playing with
Keyboards,
keyboards
right?
with Toto and singing with Toto now, well, I was messing, we were messing around doing a record, much like I asked my son, "Hey, what do you got? You got something for me?" And he brings in this great track, already almost done. I said to Steve Majora, I said, look, I want to do a blues tune, but I don't want to do a 12 bar blues. I'm not a blues guy like the Texas guys. Or my brother Joe Bonamassa, who is genius. You know, I mean, those guys play the blues, or any one of those guys. I could keep naming names forever. The great players that do that. But I wanted to do something that had some more changes in it. That was more me instead of me trying to be a blues man. I mean, I love the blues, and everything I do comes from that, but it's not trying to be a traditionalist. So it's sort of like more of a Steely Dan kind of a blues thing. It's
Hmm.
got some meaty.
Altered blues.
And Majora just goes, I got the song for it. And it was freaking done. I just put my vocal and my guitars on it, man. And it was like, this is great. I don't mind doing outside material if it's great. Totally fit the thing. And he did the ball. I mean, it was a great, fantastic. I mean, it was a wonderful thing to do. It was fun for me. Sort of like my tribute to Gary Moore, you know.
It's a
And
wonderful
I
song.
purposely, like I said, I purposely held back on this stuff and playing more of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. So 9 wonderful tracks. Is there anything else on Bridges you want to talk about before I go into one more subject?
No, I'm just really, I'm really thankful and grateful to the guys that helped me made this record. I mean, gets the MVP, but my
Yeah.
son, who also worked really hard on his thing, and all the guys that played on it, gave me all this love. Ken Freeman, who mixed it, my friends. I just want to thank you for helping me look good. That's what I gotta say. I hope you all like it out there. You know,
I love it. It's a wonderful album. Looking forward to when it
good
comes
man.
out.
Thank you. Now
If I
ask
could
me
ask,
the Go ahead, ask me the $1 million question, man. What is it?
well, it's not $1 million, it's 20 cents. But if I could ask about a few of your other solo songs,
Oh, okay.
can you talk about Fall into Velvet from
Yeah.
Lukather? I think that was 1989.
87, right? 87, 80.
Okay.
That was my first one, yeah. Well, that was written by me and Steve Stevens, another one of my favorite human beings. Brilliant guitar player, songwriter, producer, everything. We were hanging out at the time, and I said, "No, I'm doing it right." I just called all my friends to help me on that record. I had a field day with I used my Rolodex wisely on that one. And all my friends came to my rescue, and there's a whole lot of them on that record. But that particular piece was just us talking about. We wanted to do a live jam thing, like it was Jan Hammer, Steve, and I trading solos live. Will Lee, and drummer Tommy Price, who used to be in Billy Idol's band, but now is with Joan Jett, I believe. He's a great
Oh,
guy,
okay.
great groove drummer, man. And I went to New York and did some stuff, so it had a New York vibe to it. Steve and I wrote the song, wrote all the music, and we farmed out the lyrics to Cy Kernan from the Fix.
Oh, right.
And allegedly, the story goes, "Hope Cy, you don't be mad at me, man." Said he took some mushrooms and wrote the lyrics. If you read the lyrics knowing that, you go, oh, "Okay, now it makes sense." Now this is a long time, Cy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to blow your groove, Cy. But that was a long time ago. That was just fun. That was we were just I was given keys to the candy store, and I went in and invited all my friends and made that record.
Love the record. Took me years to find it.
Well, it just
Love it.
went. Wait a second, it just went double plywood, man.
Oh,
No,
Columbia.
actually,
God.
my records sell enough so I can keep doing them. The reason why we're doing these new records is not because I think I'm going to sell 10 million copies and have a #1 worldwide single. This is not going to happen, especially for an old guy. I did it to scratch the creative itch and just to enjoy. It's like a painter doesn't stop painting when he's old. Maybe it's not his, $1 million piece, but it's still you still got to scratch the itch and then you don't mind going back to the old stuff. Then if I can go out and play, all the hits, all you want. Well, we
Right.
got the music, and there's enough people out there that hopefully will dig it. And I don't know if this is my last record or if I'll do another one in a few years. I don't even know if I'll be here in a couple of years. I don't know. Who knows? But this is us today.
Just us today. Two more songs if I could. Let me pick two. Hero with a Thousand Eyes from
Well, I
1994's
wrote that
Candyman.
song with this cat, David Garfield, man. We were doing these gigs at the Baked Potato and more of a fusion-y kind of a thing.
Mhm,
Having so much fun, rock fusion kind of stuff. That we just started writing. I was going to do the second album, and I wanted to cut that more live. And Simon Phillips had just joined Toto, and I wanted him to be involved.
mhm.
And we just put that baked potato band in the studio and came out with that album. I'm proud of the record. I mean, there was some really cool stuff on that.
There's some great blues on there, some great fusion.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like these solo records are like get to do whatever I want to do. I'm not trying. It was really, self-indulgent stuff, if you will, to a certain degree. But the people that like it. I
Yeah,
mean, the
absolutely.
people that don't like me, hey, man, what can I tell you? Change the channel.
One more song. Hate Everything About You that you wrote with Rodney Crowell for
Yeah,
Luke.
yeah. Well, Rodney, it's the thing. I have friends all over the place. I love country music. First off, you know, but Rodney's a legend, a songwriter,
Yes,
and
he
he's a
is.
storyteller, songwriter. And we were up hanging out. I used to have a house out in La Quinta, and our mutual friend Sterling Ball from Music Man was how I got introduced to Rodney. We used to do these charity kind of events with All-Star, Steve Morse, me,
Mhm,
Albert Lee, and Rodney, and Biff, and uh, great drummer of kind of space, and John
mhm.
Ferraro, and that just I said, I started playing this thing. I said, I had this idea for I was pissed off at somebody, and I said, we got to write an "I Hate You" song. He goes, let me live with this. He goes, but he goes, I can't just write I hate you. It has to have a I hate everything about you. I wish it was true. Like,
A
you know,
redemption
like
somehow.
I'm broken hearted. I hate you, bitch, but I still love you. You know what I mean? It's a classic country song, you know. And so that was a fun one, you know. That was I like to try to do different stuff with different people, show a different side.
Great. Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time. I know you're busy promoting, Bridges. Anything else you wanna add, Steve?
All right, my brother. Thank you very much. It's real nice to meet you and real nice to hang out. Thanks for the good vibe. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir. I so appreciate your music.
Oh,
Take care of yourself.
thanks, man. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.